Follow me your conscience. I want to bury it inside here.
Yes. Motivo Dicta a parlé. Sankara a parlé. Goïta est en train de parler.
All the people that you see here are students. But the most important thing is that they don't know what to expect in the future. But the French kids who are going to school just like you, they know already when they finish school, they have a job, they have a house, they have
Abba.
America!
Abba.
France!
Abba.
England!
Abba.
Arab!
Abba.
Everyone!
Abba.
Africa, we stand together!
Mas young fool, commando. Mas young fool, commando. Arananki. Oh, Mwasu.
Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. If you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword. If you have two trousers, please sell one and buy a sword. Because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is no longer on the streets. This revolution is no longer about burning cars, but this revolution is about building our own cars, selling them to make our own money. And essentially, this revolution is in the mind, because if we are not in charge of our mind, we are just the tools that the enemy will use to enslave us and enslave our people. Peace and love, once again, freedom and decolonization. So the recent fallouts that we have witnessed in the United States of America between Donald Trump, the man with the power, and Elon Musk, the man with money, has to teach us a lot of things. And in particular, it has to teach us the difference between money and power. Money and power are two different things, but mostly we tend to get confused about them. We believe that once we have the money, we have the power, right, to do all that we want. And I think when you look closely at what happens in the US, then you will realize that there's a difference between money and power. And number one difference that exists between money and power is actually what people do to acquire those things. And when you look closely, you will see that the people who want money, people who want to acquire money, what they do mostly is to organize their CV. Majority of the people who want money, they do organize their CVs to get job, to get position that will eventually give them the money that they want, which means to sell their lives, to sell their time, to sell really their energy, skills, talents, so forth and so on, in order to get the money. On the other side, the people who want power, what they do is to organize other people around a goal, and in the pursuit of that goal, they acquire the power. That's number one difference that exists between money and power. And the second difference that we can establish between money and power is actually what money provides to people and what power provides to people. Now, basically, with money, you get options. Yes, with the money, you get options. You get to choose options. For example, you can choose the best medical care that you need for yourself. With money, you can buy democracy, whatever it is. With money, you can buy justice. With money, you can buy options, right? You can buy you a decent accommodation. You can buy study for your decent education for your kids. You can buy your vacation, wherever you want to go. I mean, these are the options that money provides to people. Now, on the other side, with the power, what you have is not just to choose from options, but with power, what you have is the ability to set up those options that people with money have to choose from. You see, that's the difference. So people with power set the options, establish the options, define the reality that other people have to live or have to enjoy. So, for instance, people with money, right, will buy the best conditions of a democratic society. But people with power will actually define what a democracy must be in a society. So in other words, you set up options that other people must choose from, and that is the ability of power. While the ability of money is to be able to afford those options that have been established, even though other people in the society may not be able to acquire the same options because they don't have the money. So this is a fundamental, a second difference that exists between money and the power. And when you look at what happened in the United States of America, you will see that what unfolded was exactly the difference or the friction between money and power. Elon Musk with lots of money, but his money can only afford him to buy options that have been made available in the society by the people with money, by people with power. On the other side, Donald Trump, being the president of the country, enjoys the power, right, that has been provided to him, right, by the American Constitution. And with that power, he was able to, or he is able to kick Elon Musk out of the United States, is able to create or to cause heavy damage on Elon Musk with his money. So this is how these things, differ. And we sometimes believe that we can make our society a better society. We can change our society by asking for good job, asking for good salary, which pretty much pursuing money. But I think to change the society, one must be able to control the power that determines the rules, the guidelines, the laws, the regulations that really govern that particular society. And that is the power that we need to pursue and capture if we really want to change our society. Because you don't change society with a good job or with a good salary, because the person that has provided that salary and that good job can suddenly change the next morning, and then your conditions will change as well. So to be able to change effectively the society, I think what we need to do is to capture the institutions of power, is to capture the mechanisms of power that will then allow us to set up options, to define the reality that people have to live within our society. And that is actually what Kwame Ture said when he said that every people who aspire to be free and independent must firstly control the power of defining their own terms and making those terms accepted by other people. And whenever that person or that people want to fall or to become prey of other people, whenever other people want to conquer that people with the power, the first thing they want to take away from them is that ability to define your own reality, to define your own options, and to make them accepted by other people. So when people strip you with that power of self-determination, they begin to impose on you their own definitions, their own reality, which can be colonialism, slavery, or neocolonialism as we are living in today. So we as African people must understand this. In conclusion, this is very important. As I said, money is a limited power that individuals can pursue and achieve in their lives. However, power is always a domain of collective people. In other words, no one single person, no matter how much money they can get, will be able to acquire that power of defining the reality for the society. That is the power of the people. That is a collective power. That is the domain of the people, of the majority, or of a collective group of people. As I said, the one who pursues power must begin to organize other people around a common goal. And this is where we are stuck as African people, because we have just inherited a culture of individualism from European colonizers, and we have forgotten really what has been the basis of our DNA, which is collectivism or Ubuntu, whereby we set goals, we pursue goals, and we elevate the society above individuals. So it is time that we have to redefine our society as African people, and for that to happen, we need to go back to the basics. We need to understand the essence of the collective power or collective agenda. And for that matter, what we need to do is to begin organizing ourselves. If not getting power, becoming member of certain organizations that already exist within us, in order to make these organizations powerful, so that our individual voices can become one single and collective voice that can have a huge impact. That is the means of power. So we invite you, we encourage you to take part in organization as African people, because that is the only way we are able to change our society today as African people. And if you don't have any organization, I will invite you to join us in the African Continental Unity Party, so that together we can then redefine Africa that we want for ourselves and for our children. So feel free to contact us on the details of the video, and let us see how we can collectively, collaboratively work in building a paradigm of power that will then position us as African people in the best way we take charge of our lives. Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.